Hey, what's up, YouTube? It's me, TheDraftAttack. Welcome back to the channel. I thought I'd upload a video. I wanted to share my thoughts on the whole NASCAR situation, mainly the charter agreement situation with the lawsuit of Front Row Motorsports and 2311 racing against NASCAR. But I'll include a couple other side pieces of opinion, if you will, about the sport. I mean, I've been actively watching the sport for about 20 years, a bit over that. There have been a few years, mostly between 2013 and like 2017, 2018, I want to say. I wasn't watching all the races. I mean, I was watching a few here and there, but I really didn't care that much, especially with the playoff system. That was a major hit for me for my not love for the sport, but just interest, if you will, as involved as if you will. But now with the next gen car, since it started in, I can't remember if it was the beginning of 2020, 2021. I believe it was 2020. But anyways, I restarted watching NASCAR actively almost every race, every weekend at the start of 2020. So I'll start from there. But yeah, for coming back to the charter agreement, I mean, we know about this lawsuit. I'm happy it's come out. I'm happy it's happening because now I feel much more comfortable to share my opinion on NASCAR and, this whole charter situation and a couple other things, as I mentioned, that I'll kind of talk about, but I'll try to keep it short. Okay, so the charter agreement. I mean, NASCAR owns a lot of tracks, and they keep saying it's split revenue in terms of they have X percentage that goes to NASCAR, X percentage that goes to the tracks, and X percentage that goes to the teams, and then I'm sure there's other percentages. But it states that around half the tracks, if not more, that NASCAR races at, NASCAR owns. So those two numbers of the track and NASCAR revenue should, in my opinion, should be the same number combined into one, because it's not really split revenue if it's owned by the same company or organization. Also, NASCAR owns ARCA, which means you literally can't race stock cars anywhere else in North America. You can't create your own league. You can't race on those tracks, anything like that. Um, Now, there is one detail that I forgot and I really can't find, and I don't remember if it's you can't do it if with the current charter agreement, as in the one that's going to end December 31st, 2024, or with the one starting next year. But I do know that in one of those two, it literally says you can't race stock cars anywhere else in North America. So that's a whole monopoly, if you will, because you can't do anything. I mean, they had 7 hours to sign the charter agreement. Again, I'm going to try to go through it really quick. Just if you need more details, there's lots of videos about this, and I just want to share my thoughts. But yeah, they had 7 hours total to sign a over 100-page legal document, a charter agreement. Originally, they only had 1 hour, and then we learned that the teams pushed NASCAR to give them extra time. In total, they got 7 hours because 1 plus 6. Um, Another thing I'd like to share is a tweet here from Brett Winningham on Twitter, and it's NASCAR underscore Brett. Just thought I'd mention because I'll probably forget to post the tweet, but NASCAR underscore Brett, Brett, and I'll just read his tweet. And it says, more fire from Larry Mac 28 on Sirius XM NASCAR in regard to the Denny Hamlin 2311 Racing, Michael Jordan, and Team FRM NASCAR lawsuit. And his quote is from Larry Mack: we've got an organization that's been here not even 4 years that all of a sudden saying we got to change NASCAR, the way NASCAR is run. I'm all about change. Change is what makes you better. But you know what? When I see Richard Childress, Jack Roush, Rick Hendrick, and Joe Gibbs, that's been here longer than some of these guys have been pooping yellow. And they signed off and said this was good, we're okay. There's things that we don't like about it, but we're going to do what's best for the sport and best for our business. And they signed off on it, and these people that have been either not competitive or only been in for 4.5 years, have been saying the way we've done business for 76 and a half years is wrong. Well, I can sort of understand Larry Mack's point, but at the same time, I don't. Because that money and today's money is not the same thing. You didn't have the charter agreement, or at least it wasn't as detailed, right? So of course, if you're successful back then, it doesn't mean you're going to be successful now, but it should mean that you have more money. Again, not in all cases, but in most cases, we've seen some big teams like Chip Ganassi, Ray Evernham, DEI, all of that just leave the sport. I mean, unfortunately, that happens too. But I also think this charter agreement and all that probably contributed to Tony Stewart's departure from the sport in him selling the charters and Gene Haas keeping one charter for next year being called Factory Team. I mean, yeah, I was never the biggest fan of Tony Stewart back when he raced and even when he was an owner in NASCAR, but it stays that why would you put the money if you have these charter agreements coming up and there has been no talk about it and 7 hours to sign? Again, this all happened kind of after his departure, but it stays that the charter agreement has been in talks for more than a year. So we all know that they could never come up with a solution. And now we're here. So I think it has severely contributed to that. So I think that's about it for the charter agreement. I mean, there's so many things wrong with it. The fact that you buy a charter, I never like that term. To me, it's renting a charter. That's the actual term because I mean, you have to sign a charter agreement. And I get you have all the legal reasons in terms of like, property and money and safety and a bunch of other things I'm probably forgetting. I'm not dismissing that, but it stays that you are still kind of forced to sign. I mean, these teams had 7 hours to sign a over 100-page legal document. I don't know what to say. And then just a couple side pieces. The marketing. I mean, they used find events for publicity. So my example of this, or what I mean by this, is I can't remember if it was the beginning of this year or last year, but I'll just get to it. When Kyle Busch and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. got in a fight in the pits or whatever, I think it was the beginning of this year at the Clash. Anyways, and Ricky Stenhouse physically punched or whatever Kyle Busch. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. got a fine. Again, I'm not saying violence is the answer. In my opinion, I don't like violence. I don't think it has anything to do in this sport. But anyways, it is what it is. But it says that NASCAR fined Ricky Stenhouse Jr. for his behavior, yet they were posting that incident and advertising it all over the place for the next race. So I don't understand how you can give a fine, but then your organization, your big monopoly, NASCAR being, just use that as marketing and to promote races. You're saying that it's not okay for the image of the sport to punch people and all that, so you're giving him a fine, yet you're publicizing this event. So I don't know. There's also the bigger advertisement space. To me, it's not the thing about where the number is located. I mean, it kind of is tied to that, but I don't think a stock car or race car has to absolutely have the number right in the middle. That's not my point. My point is that teams are already complaining about revenue, right? More so now than ever before. So now these companies have way much bigger space for advertisement, but even the teams still can't make money. So what was the point of the change of moving the number to add to the advertisement space? That I don't get. Then just my final quick little note, the playoff system. I mean, the point system, the win and you're in, it's just a complete joke because now you can wreck if you need, as we saw with Austin Dillon, which luckily has been handled the exact proper way, in my opinion. But I mean, yeah, and the the stage points and all that, I think is okay. I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. I mean, if we go back to a Winston Cup Series points format, if you will, like 180 points first place, and then I think it was like 40 something or whatever for last place. Doesn't matter. It wasn't the best point system, so that I'll admit. But win and you're in is kind of flawed because obviously we see some names in the playoffs that kind of don't deserve to be there. And you just have to perfect your craft for Phoenix. That's my last point about the playoffs. You just have to nail Phoenix in the spring. If you're good there, then you just have to make sure you're going to make the playoffs, survive the playoffs, which I understand are all kind of big things. But it says that if you're good at Phoenix in the spring, you'll most likely you can just set up your car for Phoenix in the fall. You don't focus on that. Yes, again, you have to make it to the final four, but it stays that why is there a track that's hosting the playoff finale, the championship four, that you're already going to earlier in the year? In my opinion, just you can keep Phoenix as the playoff race and the championship decider, but at least take away the Phoenix race in the spring, or give the venue to another track like Homestead. I think that's where it should stay, and just have that as your final playoff race. That way, no one gets an advantage, and that's the way it is. I think I've talked long enough. I'm sorry to keep your attention for so long. If I have kept your attention, thank you so much. And please share your thoughts down below. What you think about all this situation, not just the charter agreement situation, but your opinion, NASCAR. I mean, we've all been fans of this, and I mean, if you're watching this, you're probably a fan of NASCAR, right? And like I said, I mean, I've watched for about 20 years, around 20 years, and I have my own opinions and all that, but I just think, and I don't have all the answers. I have no answers. I just know what is being done right now is not the right way to do it at all. There's lots of problems here, and I'm happy with this lawsuit. I hope it goes the right way. I do have my worries that it's not going to go well. I know NASCAR is going to push really hard, and you know, with all their money and all that, who knows where it's going to go. But it stays that this is better than, I guess, this is the best that could happen within all the situation, what's going on. So please leave your thoughts down below. If you enjoyed the video, you know what to do, and I'll catch you guys on the next one if ever I'm here again. Take care. Goodbye.